And when that happened, I was like, yeah, no, it's time to wrap it up.
Just five from the 45, don't get out of line. Yeah. Ooh, 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 pick a side. Only double lines we cross is dollar signs. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I am Becca. Thank you so much for being here. This video, I'm going to be sitting down with you guys and talking about why I have decided to leave the online spiritual community. I made a TikTok a couple of days ago where I was telling you guys my 3 reasons why I left, and I said that I would make a YouTube video going more in depth. So, hi, here we are. If that is something that you're interested in, make sure you stick around and let's get into it. So I'm going to stick with the 3 reasons that I mentioned in my TikTok video, and I'm just going to go more in depth with them. Um, this is my third time trying to film this video because I want to make sure that I'm really getting my point across and that it's just time for me to speak my truth. And I think that's why it's so hard for me to make this video, because a lot of what I'm about to say is or are things that have been sitting on my chest for years. And in this new phase that I'm moving in this new, I can't even say chapter, in this new book that I am moving into in my life, I feel like it's important for me to speak my truth. And that's that. So, the first reason that I gave in the TikTok video was actually, let me back up. Let me back up real quick, because I need to kind of like set the stage, and for you who may be watching this and aren't familiar, because most of what I'm talking about is on Twitter. And for those of you, because I know everybody isn't on Twitter, so for those of you who are on Twitter and have no idea what's going on, let me set the stage for you. So, I've been in spiritual spaces, particularly on Twitter, since 2012, and when I first became a part of the spiritual community, it was completely different. And I know when things grow, it tends to like distort in a way. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. It tends to change, it tends to distort. And I feel like that's what has happened. When I first joined the spiritual community in 2012, it was a far cry from what it is today. Not to say that it was perfect, not to say that it wasn't arguing and bickering and effery amongst each other. However, I feel like it was never to the point that it is now. And for me, I saw the biggest change in 2021. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it was about 2021 where everybody felt like they were interested. And specifically, I'm talking about African traditional religions, more specifically Hoodoo. Because I don't, if you know me, you know I don't speak on things that I don't have knowledge about. And I practice Hoodoo. I don't practice any other ACR. I'm not practicing any other tradition. I'm not, what's the word, initiated into anything else. I am a Hoodoo, okay? So within the Hoodoo community, it just in 2021 we saw this big burst of like people wanting to know more about Hoodoo, people being interested more about Hoodoo, people talking more about Hoodoo, and that was all fine and dandy. But I felt like it started this thing where like it started a pissing contest almost, right? Which that's my second reason. So we're gonna get into that. But it started to be a competition amongst practitioners, and that's where for me it started to get messy. It started to turn into this thing that I didn't really recognize anymore. It started to turn into this thing that I wasn't wanting to really like engage in, because me, like, I just wanted to share my little information and go. Like that was the crux of it. And it didn't feel like a safe space anymore, to sum it up. So I want to say when I left my job in August, that's when I made the hard decision to kind of pivot, to kind of keep things closer to my chest, which brings me to my first reason. The first reason that I decided to leave the spiritual community is because I want my privacy. I'm at a point in my life, oh my God, I sound like the 34-year-old that I am. Oh my God. I'm at a point in my life where I, and this is me being 100% completely and utterly honest with y'all, okay? There was a point where I felt like I needed the validation of other people about my spiritual practice. It wasn't one of those things where it's like I wanted to be the biggest, baddest practitioner because I don't care about that. But I I wanted the validation that I was doing the thing right. You feel me? Because if you know anything about my story, all of my elders have passed, okay? And so I felt like I was out here floundering around and I wanted that validation that I was doing it right. You feel me? I wanted the validation that I was practicing right. And that turned into what I feel like I now know was a lot of oversharing. I was telling the Hoodoo collective things that I probably should have kept to myself. Again, being 100% completely honest with y'all. And I did it because part of it was because my dead folk were telling me to share. Like, it was one of those things like, no, like, you need to tell people what you've been through, how you got here, and how they can do it too, type of energy. And I feel like I took it to the extreme. Like, I was sharing a lot. And when you are a practitioner in a tradition like Hoodoo, it's not safe to share everything about your process because you don't want people to know what and where to attack. You feel me? Because if you are in this, I'm speaking to like my people who are just getting into Hoodoo. Don't ever think it can't be you. Don't ever think that because you're moving with good intentions or you're moving in a way where you're not wanting to cause harm to people that other people are thinking the same. Like, there are people out here who are in these traditions who mean you no good, and I don't say that to fearmonger. I say that so you can keep your eyes open. But that's what it turned into. Like, I remember even back in 2021 when all of that stuff started to happen to me and I started to get attacked, and my follower account grew from 1,200 followers to 4,000 plus people overnight. Like, and I started to get attacked. I remember thinking to myself, like, who would have attacked me? Like, what have I done to people? Like, anybody know anything about Mecca? I mind my business all the time. And it was hard for me to conceptualize the fact that there were people out there that didn't like me. And I know that sounds very naive, and it's because I was, but I feel like I'm a likable person. So the fact that people who I'm supposed to be in community with don't like me, like, girl, what? But that led to me sharing a lot. So I said all that to say that led to me sharing a lot. And once I realized what the problem was, kind of how I said earlier, like, if you don't tell people everything, they don't know what and when to attack. I was saying so much that people knew when to attack. They knew what to attack. They knew what I was doing. They, like, it was a lot. And so I remember once I was in the hospital in August after my surgery, I was like, it's time to pull back. It's time for me to keep things closer to my chest because at the end of the day, your journey and whatever practice that you are a part of is yours. Yeah, there's people around you with like minds, and yeah, there's people that you want to connect with, and that's great. But I feel like it's to a point where it's hard for you to keep your eyes on your own paper, and it's hard for you to hear your own folks and hear your own self. And that's what it turned into for me, and I didn't like that feeling at all. And so August of 2023 is when I decided that it's time for me to go private. It's time for me to share less. And at that time, I can't, excuse me, I can't say that I was thinking about completely leaving the spiritual community, but I was definitely thinking about moving different. So that was my first reason. The second reason, and this is a big crux of it, The Hoodoo spiritual community on Twitter has turned into a pissing contest. It's turned into who is the biggest, baddest practitioner. It's turned into who knows the most. It turns into who has the most followers. And again, remember I said that I've been in the spiritual community since 2012. And so to see that was very unsettling for me because I'm like, it was never supposed to be about this. Like, this is not what community should look like. And a big part of that is all of the things that I just spoke about. More so because I felt like I was being bullied, right? Um, I feel like now on Twitter, it's this thing where like if you don't look a certain way or if you don't have certain things or whatever the situation is, like your practice is called into question. And I feel like that's because people are in these spiritual spaces and in the spiritual community for the wrong reasons, which has turned it into a pissing contest, which has turned it into people feeling like it's okay to bully other people. Um, I just the bully, like the whole bullying aspect of it, has always blown my mind. Like I remember getting to a point where I started to feel like I was in competition with other people, and when that happened, I was like, yeah, no, it's time to wrap it up. It's time to pack it up. It just the best way that I could describe it is it just looks completely different, and it has become less about us walking alongside each other, learning from each other, protecting each other. And it's turned into the complete opposite. You got people out here throwing at each other. There's beef on every timeline known to man. Like, you can't say anything without somebody jumping down your throat because they don't agree with you. And it's wild because I feel like I don't want to say good, but for the sake of not having a better word, I'm going to say good. Any good practitioner knows no two paths are the same. Hoodoo in particular is very regional. So you got hoodoos from the Midwest, you got hoodoos from the Delta, you got hoodoos from the Southeast, the North. Like, you got hoodoos all over the United States. You got lineages, different lineages all over the United States. So nobody is going to practice the same. And I feel like there is a very big, like, I feel like that's a very big piece that people miss when talking about hoodoo, especially on Twitter. Because I can say that I do my altar work on Saturday. And somebody's like, oh my God, you shouldn't be, and I don't do it on Saturday. But somebody would be like, oh, you shouldn't do it on a Saturday. That's not like, you don't know what I have learned. You don't know who my elders were. You don't know what region I grew up in to say that. So it became a lot of that, which led to a lot of angry discourse, which led to a lot of you're right, I'm wrong, and if you're not doing it my way, then you're not doing it the right way. And I was just like, bruh, I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. That along with the bullying, I couldn't take it no more. So I decided to gracefully bow out. Third reason, which you guys have probably been seeing more of, is I'm just moving in another direction. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is not one of those, oh, I am denouncing being a hoodoo and I'm going back to Christianity. It will never be that. But what it is for me, hoodoo is not a personality trait. And while hoodoo is a big part of my life, hoodoo is not all of my life, right? There are different things that I'm interested in. There's different facets of me. There's different parts of me that I feel like because for 10 plus years I was so focused and zeroed in on my spiritual journey that I put to the back burner. Because I was so focused on my spiritual journey, because I was a workaholic, if you know, you know. But those two things put together, I didn't have time for much else. And now that I have nothing but time, now that I'm working for myself and I'm going through this phase where I feel like I'm rediscovering myself, I'm starting to realize that more so than anything, if I'm going to talk about hoodoo, or if I'm going to share anything with you guys about hoodoo, is going to be through my creative expression. I am a serial creative. I'm a writer. I love music. I love fashion. Like, there's so many different facets of me that I'm finding out about for the first time, because I want, like, honestly, if y'all would have asked me a year ago, like, Mecca, what are your hobbies? I couldn't tell you, and that was not okay. And so I'm in this phase of my life right now where I'm just engulfed in my creative expression and engulfed in things that make me happy, things that feed me, and it's we've been having a time over here with it, okay? And especially since I have left my main account. My main account on Twitter has 4,000 plus followers. I haven't tweeted on that account in weeks. Um, I needed a break. I needed to hear my own voice for once. I needed to hear clearly the voice of my dead folk. And I feel like it's so much noise on Twitter. It's so many opinions. It's so much. And I felt like I just needed a break from all of that. So I delved, delved. I delved deeper into my creativity, and I've been loving it here. And so, if you've been following me, or if you initially followed me for my spiritual content, I'm not going to ever say that I'll never talk about anything regarding hoodoo or spirituality ever again on any of my platforms. But what I am saying is it may look different. And honestly, the gist of it is I don't want to be a part of the spiritual community. Um I don't want to be in allegiance with the spiritual community. I don't like I've had my fill. I feel like I've shared what I needed to share. I felt like I've said what I needed to say. I felt like I've learned what I needed to learn. And it's just time for, like, F a new chapter. It's time for a new book. And so that is why I have decided to leave the spiritual community. And it's time for me, like, that's why I said at the beginning of this video, it's kind of hard to talk about this, because these are things that I have been holding on to for years. And me making this video is me letting it all go. It's me choosing to let it go, because it's something that has really, like, been a shadow in my life. And I know that sounds real dramatic, but, like, if you weren't a part of spiritual, like, online spiritual spaces, you don't get it. Like, it became such a thorn to me where, like, I'm not gonna hold y'all in this. Whew, wow, this is the first time I'm saying this out loud. There was a point where it was so bad where I was even like, am I supposed to be practicing hoodoo, or do I even want to practice hoodoo? And when it gets to a point where the treatment of or the treatment that you get from others makes you reconsider something that you hold so near and dear to your heart, it's time to let it go. And before I will denounce hoodoo, before I will stop practicing hoodoo, I'll leave a community. Like, and that's just where I'm at with it. So you're just gonna see a lot more creative expression from me. You're gonna see a lot more of me sitting here talking to you guys, speaking my mind, telling my truth, and just getting things off my chest. And it feels good to be able to do that. It feels good to be able to um, just do something different, with hoodoo always at the forefront, but just in a different way. So that is why I left the spiritual community. If you are in a situation, because I've talked to a lot of people who feel the same way, who have really stopped talking about hoodoo online. That's a whole different video, because at this point, I don't even feel like we need to be talking about it online no more. But that's a whole nother video. It's a whole nother video. But if you're in, my dog is dreaming. It is the cutest thing ever. I'm sorry, she's dreaming. If you can hear her in the background. Um. Okay, girl. That is the cutest thing ever. I love when she does that. But if you are somebody who is feeling the same way that I felt, and I know that there are people out there because we've spoken, um, if you feel like you're in the same spot where you feel like pulling back, or you feel like it's not something that you want to talk about publicly anymore, baby, the best thing that I can say is to do what's best for you. And what's best for you should always trump the opinions of others. And that's in any fact, like in any decision regarding your spiritual journey that you make. Like, the deciding factor should always be you. Like, don't let people decide for you, because that's what I did for a really long time. And at the end of the day, I can't blame, not that it's a blame game, but I can't blame anybody other than myself for allowing it. Right. So that is the video for today. If you have thoughts, leave them in the comments. Let's talk. Let's start a conversation. Um, and I'm excited to share more with y'all in a different way. So stick around. There's a much more to come, and I can't wait to. Why am I stuttering? I can't wait to share it with y'all. Um, and I hope that you enjoy it. So until next time, be great, get bread, stay all the way live, and with everything be intentional. Have the day that you conjure. Peace.